Well, and welcome into Limited Time Only, brought to you by Sorare Data. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined today by Keith Jameson, GatorGuy231. Hopefully it's working this time.
We had a great 10-minute talk while not realizing that we weren't live.
Yeah, so apologies to everybody. Thank you to everybody who switched over. Literally Keith and I talked for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden I looked over to the chat and everyone's like, boy, Laird's going to be pissed when he sees the chat. And I'm like, why would I be pissed? And I'm like, why is nobody talking about what we're talking about here? And yeah, that's why.
So I thought personally, so this is what you guys missed in the 10 minutes. Laird got a really, really crap reward. And he pretty much bitched about it for 9 minutes until realizing that we weren't going. So we can start out much better this time.
Honestly, that was really, really helpful so that I didn't have to have that publicly. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming.
I do owe a donut video, Mike. You're right.
Ugh, who knows? I don't know. First things first, you owe us a donut video still.
It's true. I have to figure that out.
Yeah. Anyway, so what Keith and I were talking about a few minutes ago that nobody saw was the difference between 220 and 240. And it came up, I'll try to rehash this without actually... Well, I guess you guys didn't hear it the first time. So basically, after last week's show, where we talked about the new 220 month-long competition, that there seemed to have been a group, not a group of people, but there were a few people who were adamant that it was more important to find players who could outscore their L15 versus players who score a lot of points. And I realize that sounds kind of dumb, but one of the comments, and I don't remember if it was in the live chat, I think it was in one of the comments of the video, was basically saying that a player with an L15 of 70 can only outscore their L15 by 30, whereas somebody who has a lower L15 can do it by more. And the difference is that when you're playing Cap 240, which we did a whole show on earlier today, that worked flawlessly. Thank you again to Bob for coming on. But the point of 240 is more about outscoring your L15 in order to score 280 or more, at least 280 points. And in Cap 220, we want to score more points than everyone that we're competing against, because that is a competition where you need to outscore other people. And so the raw points are actually more valuable than how much you are outscoring your L15 by. And so if you have a player who has an L15 of 75 and they bang 100, that's only 25 points that they're outscoring their L15. So if you have somebody that has an L15 of 25 and they score 60, that's a bigger gap over their L15. But it's also not as valuable because you need the 100 points. Ideally, you have both. But it came up because everybody was like, do I really need the L15s of 0? And does it matter that if they don't score that much? And all of it matters. And we'll get into the L15 of 0 part as well. But I think what's really important is that fundamentally, Cap 240 is about outscoring your L15 in order to score more than 280.
Right.
And Cap 220 and 270, I did guess, but we're kind of focusing on 220, is outscoring everyone else and scoring as many points as possible to do that. And there are very different strategies and different players to do that. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, cool. I couldn't have said it better. That was much better than the try one, too.
Than the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some underlying anger in the first time.
Yes.
But let's talk about the L15s of 0.
Yeah.
Did you play Aaron Ramsdale last week?
Yeah, of course. If you didn't, you literally gave up edge. You gave up expected value, whatever term you want to use, you gave it up. And if you beat me, which wasn't that hard, congrats. But I want you to know from a process perspective, you made a mistake.
So I think what a lot of people thought, well, there were a few comments actually that it wasn't a great matchup, and therefore he wasn't going to score that many points. And I actually think that there was a bit of validity to that if he wasn't a firm favorite. Weren't they at home?
No, they were away. Away to Brentford. Or if there was another 0 option.
Right. And so fundamentally, in this instance, the reason why the L15 why the 0 was so important is because it allowed you to then use 220 cap points for 4 players instead of 5. And the higher L15 players that you are going to put into your lineup are more likely to score 100. Like, that's how I think of it. That player who has an L15 of 65 is more likely to score 100 than an L15 of 30.
I think I want to even scale that back more than hundreds, because I think we all love 100s, and I've realized this as like the game's gotten more and more competitive. I'm like looking for I'm like disappointed in a 78. Come on, Hector Herrera, home. You got an assist. You dominate the game. You only can do 78. Come on. Literally, I was thinking that as watching the Dynamo game. So I think what we have to do is not necessarily just think like who's most likely to get 100. Who's going to get these really dark green scores? It's really what we want. Like, are we more likely to get 70 to 80s, which is really good scores, from guys that are L15s of 55 to 60, or guys that are 45? And long story, it is almost always that 55 to 60 quadrant.
Right, exactly. And I think it also goes into the whole, like, again, 220 is about scoring more points than everyone else. And so you're going to have to find a path to getting players who score a lot of points into those lineups. The easiest way is one L15 of 0. I mean, if they have an L15 of 5, I'm sure that's probably just as good. But fundamentally, it's about that. So I was looking at the leaderboard from last weekend, Cap 220. So 6 of the top 9 have Ramsdale. Yep. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And the players that they have in there, I mean, some of these lineups, like, you look at who they have and you're just like, wow, that's actually kind of a crazy lineup. But like, I have no idea who Fabio De Pauli is, but like Tom Hay, Szymanski, and Tadic. Like, those are the types of cards you can play. Like 467 points in Cap 220.
And you know what? I didn't even think of this, so you just put that up. That's why it also doesn't matter if you outscore your cap by 20 or 25. These people outscored their cap by 240 points. Take your 25 and just scrap it, you know?
But for real, that's the case. And so I think I assume 240 has similarly absurd scores.
And that's why
485.
And that's kind of the crux of it, though, too, isn't it? Is that in 240, I probably doesn't. The whole objective, I guess, is the word I'm going to use, of like just getting to the 280 and then that being deemed successful, probably clouds how people are playing 220, because they go, okay, well, this is what I do in 240, and I'm pretty damn good at it. I'm hitting threshold all the time because I'm just looking at my outscoring. I'm just trying to outscore that cap by 40. So I just need to do 5 here. This guy will get 10 here. My XP, because my collection, will get me this many more, right? So we do all that math, and we're like, cool, we're there. This should be like 285, 290. Good, I'm going. That just doesn't work when you're competing against other people. It works in the competing against the game.
Right, like you could have a lineup that your L15s outscore, or excuse me, all of the players outscore their L15s by 20 points, and you end up with 240 points. Like, you don't get any extra for like just because you're outscoring. What you want to do is be able to have your elite players outscore their L15s by 20 because you have another player who's outscoring it by 60, which is what Ramsdale did last week.
And by the way, for all the people that were talking about Ramsdale bad matchup and all this stuff, this is why I don't overthink goalies. Because this team just doesn't have to score. It's really hard to score a goal in the Premier League. So all that needs to happen for it to be a really good play. Well, one, would you have considered a great play if he scored 32 points?
Yeah.
Agree. 100% agree. And by the way, I didn't know if I mentioned this last time. So as many people know on the show, Laird has once won Cap 240. Do you remember what your goalkeeper scored?
Yeah. It was the worst score in my lineup.
Yep.
It was like he scored? Conceded. I remember it was Joe Bendick. I'm guessing he scored. I don't even know if he reached 40.
He didn't. He ended with less than he started with.
Ooh. Yeah.
But if I remember right, I didn't pull the lineup up. I totally should have. But it was like Cecina, Reynoso. I think your boy Alexander Grant, because he's like the source. He and Reynoso like win you more than anybody else. And it was some other stellar player, but none of them were in like the best matchups. But you were able to jam all these top guys who then hit their like top 5% of outcomes for the matchups, and it all just kind of came into place. But it started with you having really good players, because really good players achieve their top percentile outcomes a lot more often than do center midfielders who take one shot every 3 games.
I think I'm trying to find it here, because I think here it is. 383 was the game week.
I like Mike's comment. So if L15 is 0, Keith will play away game players. Yes.
We found the hole in his strategy.
The hole with 4 home players, of course.
Oh my God. So you named 3 of the 4. Guess who the 4th guy was?
I don't know.
Why do you think it would be particularly salty to you?
Oh, it was Gold.
Ryan Gold.
Yeah. And it was away. And I remember that game versus LAFC.
Yeah. I did not prioritize this at all.
I remember you putting it together. And I was like, this is such a good lineup with terrible matchups.
Bendik was the only home player.
Oh, and it was 40 points. So I remembered wrong.
Yeah.
My bad.
Only one at home was Bendik.
But so I brought this lineup up not to be like brag on Laird here, but more of
keep it coming. Yeah,
look, you need it after your tier 3 disaster. But like that's a really good example though of a lineup that shouldn't fit cap modes, but does because of a 0. And you just saw he won a competition that eventually paid out of Bruno Fernandes because Joe Bendik was a 0. It's the only reason that lineup works.
He's like a literal 0 too. Like that's terrible.
I think 40 is one of his better scores.
It was probably his highest score of the entire season. Yeah, I think I've owned that code for 4 years too.
And guess what? All it took was one time, and it was well worth it. And it had to be Joe Bendik. That lineup doesn't happen without it. And I think that's kind of like the big thing with like a Ramsdale is you don't play. You know, like for that guy does not play. That was in the second place that you showed. He does not play Tadic and he does not play Szymanski together in cap 220.
Right.
Without a 0.
Yeah.
And cap 220 as a minus, I think they were like a minus 500 or 600 favorite at home.
Who was?
Feyenoord. Not Feyenoord. Why would I say that?
Fenerbahce. Yeah.
Sorry. Fenerbahce. I knew it was an F.
I don't think Arsenal.
I knew it was an F. No, but again, it didn't. Ramsdale's outcome did not matter in terms of like the validity of the play. And I still think if you take Ramsdale's clean sheet out of there, those same guys and gals aren't at the top, but I think we still are going to see a lot of Ramsdales up there.
For sure. I mean, it's fundamentally, it's like, do you want to play? And Ramsdale, I think he's probably not an outlier. I was going to say it's like an outlier because like not all the time you get like a starting goalie of a home favorite that everybody's heard of that's in a top 5, but all that stuff. But yeah, it allows you to put in Dusan Tadic. And like Tadic is not a player that when they were like, hey, we're going to play cap 220, everyone's like, hey, all my tier 4 and 5s are going to be useful. And it's like, hey, I'm going to play Tadic and Szymanski and Tom Hay. And you're like, wait, what?
I kind of wish that there was an Mbappe limited in first place. Like the guy used Mbappe and just, wrecks the competition. Because Mbappe dropped 100, I think, too, this weekend as well. So it's just been hilarious.
Did he? Let me see if Impact Players is working. 427 was that, right? Yeah. Trying to see if anybody played Mbappe there. I don't think it's even loading.
And Germ, I want to get to this. If it's not loading, let's get to Germ's comment right here at 228. I like that a lot. Fakir surely will be one of those outliers soon. So I'll let you take the floor on here. Why is a field player more often than not on a 0 not the answer?
Why are we talking about Fakir and not Yari Verscharen?
Because I've had the Yari debate for a week straight, and I'm just glad to take my W.
So somebody brought this up as well in the expecting Sorare Scandinavia Discord because they were like, "Oh, Yari will be that guy soon." So the problem with outfield players, particularly ones that are coming back from long-term injuries, is that they get eased back in. They never like start and hit 90 minutes automatically. And so exactly, Mike, first appearance likely from the bench. Like realistically, first couple, and we'll be like, oh, it keeps the L15 down. That's good. But you only get one opportunity at 0. And then you'll have a few weeks at, in the 20s, which is still helpful as long as he starts. Like the first 20 is not helpful if the next one is 29 and the next one is 31. Like those scores are not high enough.
But here's the other thing though. I want anybody that's thinking about like the outfield player idea. Well, he's at a 0. Fakir, he could potentially score off the bench. Give me 30 minutes. I like his chances. Well, here's the problem. You're capping yourself, right? So you got the Fakir spot. You need a decisive first and foremost to even be work out, because a 40, when you're using up that midfield, forward, or extra spot, you are giving away so much, I'll call air quote value, upside, expected value, whatever term you want to put in there. That's the issue, because when you played Yari at midfield to get your 0 and play a goalkeeper with a cap hit, meanwhile, a dude in second played Szymanski, starting from the front as a -600 favorite at home, who, guess what, has also been playing games, so he's not rusty like a Yari, like a Nabil Fakir, like whoever else is coming up, so that'll be different. Now, can I give you an example that Andy Black brought up earlier that I don't think will fit this competition, but if it's a cap mode, will count. Here's a fun one. Ivan Toney.
Ooh.
That's a fun one to think about. Because guess what he does have? Should have some fitness. He sure as hell is not allowed to be at his bookie's office anymore.
Is he allowed to? He hasn't been training with them though, right? Has he?
I have no idea, but if he's been away from the team, you have nothing else to do.
I guess. Yeah, that's a.
Are you worried that he's been having too many beers at the pub?
I'm just worried that it's the same thing, that like they just need to not that easing him back in.
There you go, Andy. Training since September.
Like with the team, or is this like I've got a guy who's been working out with? I'm just saying.
Let me show you. Here, let me show you my TikTok hype video of how good I look after this whole gambling incident. Yes,
exactly. Oh, all right.
So that could be an example, though, of a guy coming back on a 0 field player. That's completely different from my argument, because he could technically walk right in for 90 minutes.
And do you know what some people will do?
What's that?
They'll play Tony and another L15 of 0.
I mean,
if there's a goalie,
it's there. Which, would you consider that too much?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's too much. I mean, I think at that point it depends on your gallery, though, because 220 divided by 3, I'm talking about guys in that 73, 74 range.
Yeah, so you play
a lot of galleries.
Whoever the goalie is, Kim Min-jae, Kimmich, Kane, Tony.
Yeah, but a lot of us don't have those cards.
It does, but some people have them. That's the point.
Yeah, you're saying that some people will then make this happen. Buy your Ivan Tonys now, everybody. There's your pump of the week.
He's already moving a little bit. Andy said, we consider this matter closed. Andy didn't say this. He shared this. Brentford said this. We consider this matter closed and look forward to welcoming Ivan back to training in September and seeing him representing Brentford in the Premier League in January. Premier League, excuse me.
I thought he would be on Chelsea by then.
We'll see. We'll see. So the guy that comes into my mind of the one that I think is the expected like return scores is Martin Terrier from Rennes.
That's a good one. Yep, that's a really good one.
This is what you need to expect.
And how many games was that? How many? Go down to the logs. How many? Just show the minutes he's in.
Yeah, so played 2 games, took one off, 2 games off the bench, took one off, 2 games off the bench, and then 4 starts, 59, 62, 45, 70. Like that could be a Yari Verschaeren score chart.
Right. But that's the issue. But I want people to like kind of realize too, it's not if you have a low score of the week, you won it at your goalkeeper position. Like that's the position I can give up points the most at, because more than likely the guys that are at the top of the leaderboards are only getting 70s. You know, a good goalkeeper score in that 60 to 70 range, a lot of them are going to fall. Whereas my midfielder, forward, extra, there's going to be tons of hundreds. We talked about it. There's going to be 20-something hundreds at each position and only like one at the goalkeeper position.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of that's a great point, that like you don't, ideally, I'm not saying everybody can do this, but like ideally you don't want to have an L15 of 0 player that could score and in his 65 minutes, but like realistically doesn't have 100 upside. And most goalkeepers are not scoring 100. So it almost like doesn't matter what they score. And so it's the outfield players that like you play the L15 0 goalie so that you can play 100 level outfield players. And guys coming off the bench are just so unlikely to score, even to score 70, that it's really tough for me to get on board with those types of players in this competition.
So here's a fun follow-up. Would you consider taking a 0 at goalkeeper?
Absolutely not. Meaning
Just
like playing somebody who is a 0 and will not play?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's worth
it. Verse, though, we can go over some names and things like that, but verse playing Noppert's number 1. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. But for those that are listening there, they're just shaking his head because he still didn't do it. But that's a really good matchup for Noppert. But let's say you have to fall down with these other guys, right? These other like high 30s, low 40s. Like, and they're probably going to get 30s and 40s more than likely. Like that's like going to be their outcome.
The goalies?
Yeah. Let's say you find a 35 L15 guy. I kind of looked through who would be swappable already, and I think the best one is a 38 in champ or 29. You said our midweek dude. Who's our midweek guy? What's his name again? Gill.
Oh, David Gill. Yeah.
David Gill. David Gill is the midweek cheat code at 0, and then he'll be 29 this weekend, assuming he starts.
Yep.
Assuming the other guy isn't fit, but David Gill will be a 29. So that's like the cheapest swappable guy likely to start that you can use a comment on that I've seen. But would you rather take that 29 for Gill with a really solid chance that he's probably going to score 30 to 40, or take the 0, but he's taking up 29, so now you have 200 points, so you have to average 50. Actually, you don't even have that. You're low average, a little less than 50 for the other 4 spots, or have 4 spots to average 55 in. You definitely would still play Gill just because of the chance he gets a clean sheet or chance he is an outlier.
Yeah, I do.
I think I do too. I'm not making an argument like to do the 0, but it kind of through the course of this conversation, I'm like, we're talking so much about upside that I'm like,
I just feel like there's so many times where people ask us, they were like, hey, should I try a 4-man? And like before they even finish, we're just like, no, don't do it. And we know the answer is no.
So
how competitive are you really with a straight 0 in your lineup?
Does it matter that it's for the month long though, and you're just trying to log bigger scores? You're not really trying to like win first. You're just trying to log higher scores than you would have with a 5-man.
I'm not sure I follow that.
Yeah, so let me try to rephrase. I had a feeling confusing. So like, all right, I'm using Gill, or I'm using Zentner, using Noppert, whatever. Noppert, I think, is actually wrong for this conversation because he's just like flat out a really good play and a good shot at a clean sheet. But let's just say these other guys that never stay clean, like, and they've earned their 36, and their matchup isn't dictating that they're better than that. Are we not better off taking a 0, maybe using our common on a Harry Kane Leroy Sané. I don't know why I'm just naming Bayern guys. Bruno Fernandes, whatever. Insert great play. Would we not be better off that way? And now just have to get 3 guys that are limited that, have good matchups that we can achieve. Do you get where I'm going with that at all or not really? Am I missing it?
I do, but I think the thing it misses is that your lineup, any lineup with 5 players has a theoretical upside of 500.
Right. If they're all playing. Yes, exactly.
Right. And so consciously chopping that down to 400, that's the absolute max that you can score.
Yep. No, that's right.
I mean, obviously there's XP and all that stuff, but like realistically 400 is the highest you can go. And it's also highly unlikely.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
So I think it's one of those that, like, if you have the 4 guys and you're just like, I'm not going to spend $300 for another goalie, $30, right, whatever scarcity you're playing. Like, I get that, but I think to consciously do it is not good, especially in this monthly 220 competition when I've been guaranteed there's an L15 of 0, playable L15 of 0 every game we keep.
No, I think it's fair. Like Blue Tomatoes made a good comment there. Imagine your 4 guys really get 100. You'll be fuming that you wasted those scores. Or I'm just going to counterpoint this. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't think I actually believe this.
The point. Yeah,
but great. I would also go, well, those 4 guys that got me 100, I would have never been able to fit in with my cap hit of 33 goaltender or my cap hit of 29 goaltender. I wouldn't be fishing in the same pond.
Yeah, you fucked up by putting it in capped. You should have played an all-star with a real goalie.
Yeah, but we've already existed this, that we're all too pumped about 220, and now we're putting our best lineups into 220 for no good reason.
Yeah. Sorry for swearing, by the way. I don't think it's a realistic outcome.
No,
I think you're taking a highly unrealistic outcome and even making it more unrealistic, and therefore likely torpedoing a decent lineup to get nothing.
And I also think that this whole thought exercise shows why you play Ramsdale on a 0 every single time. Because now I fish from the good pond and I get whatever that outcome of that 0 is.
Yeah.
Can I give you another random scenario that I was looking through because I was just overthinking for a couple minutes before the stream? What if you found a goalkeeper in insanely bad form? Like, so bad.
Like Noppert 3 weeks ago?
I think, what's funny? This Noppert actually works for this because this guy is a backup for his international team too. But his scores are so bad, and I think they just changed their manager. Is there an outside chance? Would you potentially stream that backup, especially if you could get as a common, and take the risk? And I'm speaking of Rano from Union.
Right.
You look at his scores. I'm sure the whole defense can take a bit of the blame, but they got a coach fired that took them to Europa or whatever.
Right.
Those scores are pretty rough. And the team's been losing.
And you're saying that the L15 backup goalie is the play?
I'm saying, would it be the craziest thing to try to go, this guy's in bad form, coach, maybe a shakeup? Maybe I should roll him in here.
I think it's less that. I think that's really bad strategy.
I'm willing to accept that. This was a rabbit hole I was going down, and I found myself trying to convince myself that this actually might make sense. And by the way, even to make it worse, away to Bayern,
right,
is the matchup.
Well, I do want to touch on that though, but I think that's really bad, and I think that
I'll accept that. I'll accept it.
I don't think it's bad strategy to buy his backup. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but then his backup drops 90 at Bayern, and now he's not a cap 220 guy.
Yeah, but you just sell him. Then everyone's like, "Oh, you have this start. You had a backup goalie. Now he's a starter. You could that wins every time."
Fair statement.
But about the dropping a 90 on Bayern, and I showed you this last week because I was in my lineup. And I think it was, I can't remember if did you say this to me before the deadline?
What's that?
So Kelly Roos from Aberdeen was away. Were they away? No, they were home against Rangers.
Home to Rangers. Yep.
And big, like, home underdogs. He was expected to have a terrible game. And he absolutely stands on his head. He made, I'm going to pull it up here. Roos finished with 10 saves, 8 from inside the box. Like, he was on for a huge score. 94th minute penalty wipes out the clean sheet. Like, he obviously still finished at 65, which is good. And his L15 last week was like in the 30s, I think. Like, it's maybe low 40s, maybe. Where is he now? So he's 40 now, and that was after the 65 came in. So are we better off for Cap 220 getting these really, really low L15 goalies in horrible matchups? Because the upside is actually humongous if it actually works out that I mean, a 65 score off of a 39 L15 is really good anyway. So that's actually not the killer. But should we actually be looking for bad goalies in these situations where we want to maximize our score?
I think when we don't have the 0, like, you definitely can be shopping in that range. Like, like you just
like this week, you talk about how great Noppert's matchup is. Wouldn't you rather Rado away to Bayern?
Because again, I'm still just trying to lock in the best outcome. Like, I just did that whole little thing about trying to, like, take zeros and stuff, and now I'm going to completely reverse. And I just want the best shot at 60s that I possibly can get. I want the best shot at the best amount of points. Again, I think I said this a lot last week too. I think if this was a 1-week tournament, it's a completely different story, and I'm shooting for those guys all the time.
That's what I was just about to say, that if this was 1 week, then obviously you try to go for the upside finish. But isn't it kind of just a 4-time 1 week tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly viable, especially when we're in a situation where we're at right now, where the goalkeepers this coming week, still something could happen. It's like somebody could get hurt in Champions League. Somebody could do something silly and get suspended. You just never know until we get really close to the deadline. But I was just gonna, like, there's no Ramsdale this week.
Yeah.
Like, the best play, we kind of, the best, air quote best, because we're talking about goalie, but it's probably Noppert, and he doesn't have a common we can swap to. And we already talked the whole show about why this competition, in limited, we want to use our swaps on goalies. Like, we want a common goaltender. Unless you just happen.
You're not Sean. Come on.
Oh, did I say? Whichever. Thank you for that compliment. Love you, Sean. But no, like, we want, from a budget perspective, we want to use that common spot on a keeper if we can. Yeah. Or if we just happen to have a really good L15 keeper, like good as in low L15 keeper in a limited variety, now we can maybe have some fun and get a really good common outfield player. But I think for a majority of people playing this competition as kind of like a progression element or a chance to win a good reward, we're using that common goaltender. And the champ guys just aren't really there this week.
Yeah. So I was pulling this up here. As you said, Noppert's the top one. This is Cap 220 limited pick scores.
Yeah, your first goalies. Yep. Zentner's your first one swappable.
Right.
And he's not very good. And they're not very good.
Maybe that's okay, though.
Oh, it could be fine, especially for a team like Freiburg. Especially, home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, hey, worth mentioning, Roos was at home. I feel like a lot of times you do occasionally get the stand on the head performance away. And like I can think of like many times I feel like games that like at Barcelona or like at Madrid, the other goalkeeper has like 13 saves.
Yeah.
This is coming back from like DFS days, and you're just like, why did I take the cheapest goalkeeper on the slate? But yeah, I mean, it could be that Zentner could be fine. I think he was my favorite of the swappable variety. I think I prefer him to the Gill guy, but you also are giving up 9 points that you can use somewhere else.
Yep. Looks like we also have Farman, who's second division in Germany, which is a bummer. They're
so can I show you what I did to search for this too on here? If people wanted to look for swappable, just change that filter to champion.
Champ Europe, yeah.
And then just do like a cost perspective of like, I took it that I don't think you should be spending much more than like 42, 43 on a goalkeeper. I think once you get past that, you probably are just using up too much cap on a position without the upside. So, I did that. And then I saw Rano and I was like, I wonder.
Areola against Palace?
That's not bad at all. And Eze left injured. They did get Elise back, but Eze left injured, which is a big player for Palace. So definitely could see that.
So would you rather have
it gets dark.
Rano away to Bayern or Andre Ferreira away to Madrid?
I would say away to Madrid without Vinny Jr. Yeah, definitely away to Madrid.
Okay. We also have Jose Sa away to Arsenal. Maximiano in just a regular game. That's how.
Can you talk to the people about why they should never pick Luis Maximiano?
I don't even have to. He can do it himself. Let's look at these scores.
So you were really telling me you would want this guy on a 30 over as just taking your 0? That was a better question. Luis Maximiano, where you had to use up cap charge, or just take the damn 0?
That's a good question, Keith. That's a good question. Because I'm looking at this like, do I really want to spend 31 for a 0? Like,
no way in hell. And then I go, well, there's a chance that he's going to get a decisive. You're like, no, there is not.
No.
There is actually not a chance.
I think I would take Rano away to Bayern, Ferreira away to Madrid over Maximiano, like at home to my son's U13 team. I still wouldn't even take him. No chance.
Yeah. So what Brussels said is Rano the right play. I think Rano's actually a really valid, playable guy this week. And I will also say I would not play him because now that I spoke the backup into existence, I want the ability to go, I told you so.
Yeah. No.
So I personally can't do it. But I think anytime, like, look, if Rano does not get guillotined, he literally would have started more than he cost, which is a really good spot to be in. And, if he doesn't give up 3 away to Bayern, he probably got like 55 or 60 with AA.
I mean, realistically, he and Ferreira
have great upside.
Might have the best 100 upside, right? Like,
yes, a best 100. And look, here's the other thing that's not said at all. When you're that big of a dog, the chances of you giving up a PK are really, really high. Like really high, because there's going to be so much in the box. So you just got to get a hand on it. Easier said than done versus Kane, right?
What are we telling people?
Oh,
not financial advice.
This is the what if show. What if? I don't know. I mean, I think these are valid perspectives though to talk about because we're not in Cap 220. We're not shopping for Neuer here,
right?
Like,
although he was a Cap 220. Although at the time, I think people played him in 270, right?
Right. I don't know. I think it's very valid.
Ben said surely that Union game ends like 5-0 Bayern, though. It would be an absolute miracle if he scores more than 20. Like,
but guess what?
It can happen.
Last man tackle. We've seen random. No, I'm just saying though. Last man tackle. Last man, he allows 5, but he gets a random last man tackle or PK save or whatever decisive action that you want to talk about. Now he's sitting on base score 35 because that guillotine got derailed. And now it's just everything else.
Yeah.
It's just cushion. But I think feel like we're talking too much about like what the goalkeeper's outcome is going to be, and more the reason you're playing Rano is because now you got 194 points to play with at your other positions. It's not because you think Rano is a sensational play. You are playing him because he's alive and has a low cap hit, and now we can spend our money more wisely in the outfield.
Right. What was his L15?
Like 26. You have to be, and he's starting almost every game. You're really putting up some work to have an L15 at 26.
For real.
28. Thank you. So I want to recircle this to the topic of the video. I would never play Rano in 240.
Oh yeah, no.
So why do you go no? Like,
because
what's the difference?
240 is a high floor competition.
Exactly. You're playing Noppert there every time if you have that ability.
Yes. Germ says if Rano doesn't concede 3, he likely scores 50 plus, which is plus 30, and allows for a 49-point average. That's a big if though.
And I would say within Germ's comment, everything right there, I would just edit out, which is a plus 30. We don't really care that it was plus 30 over his average. We care that it allowed the 49-point outfield players who are hoping can all outperform what we would have been able to do with like a 44 average guy. That's my whole thing.
Bayern Munich are 64% chance to score at least 3 goals. Like 64% guillotine chance is pretty high.
Maybe it's a smothering kind of game.
Maybe.
That's another thing. Here. While we're going to go into the bizarro world of me predicting ways for goalkeepers to do well, would it conceivably work now? Like they're at Bayern, it's 0-0. He's been on his head. He has like 7 saves, and now he's just starts smothering the crap out of the ball to get us a little bit of extra time shaving. Yeah, I'm going with this.
I mentioned to someone yesterday that Martin Freisel, the guy who's been starting for Midtjylland, that he plays like he knows the scoring matrix.
Tony, did he ever cross paths with Tony Watt? That's what we need to know.
That was a good
Tony's
point.
Like, hey, can you just toss a smother?
Rizzo, did I say guillotine instead of guillotine? I think I'm going to say that guillotine is the English pronunciation of guillotine.
Okay.
Since it's not even an English word. Anyway, Pico says 33% chance to get a lot of AA.
I mean, again, it's the 2 outcomes, right? He can bring his L15 down because it was that bad and you're screwed. But then you do have the upside. So that's that whole lottery aspect of it is like, are you trying to get that top 1% outcome? Ooh, here's a good question for you. Are you more likely to do a play like that if you don't love your lineup? Like, I think that I'm less likely to play a Rano over like a Noppert, or I don't even know if Noppert's a good example. Maybe a better example is like Zentner, because you have to spend a little bit more. So you have to give up 10 points to go up to Zentner, who's just like I think it's an even game at home. Or you can play Rano. If I don't love my team, or I think it's all more like decisive dependent guys, and I'm not getting guys I love in there, I think I'm more likely to go Rano versus if I love my team, I'm like, this seems really good. I really don't want Rano to F this up with a 5. So I'm more likely to go to a guy that's not going to get guillotined. Do you think validity in that? Do you know where I'm going with that?
I am, but the assumption is that you have 2 goalies that cost the same.
Well, in this situation, I can swap them out. Well, but again, I make my team. Let's just say I'm on Builder, and I do 2 different teams. With Rano, I can get this team that maybe it's bad because Rano is cheaper. But I guess if I love the look of my team, I'm not going to try to. I'm going to be more conservative with my goalkeeper choice. I think it's more where I'm going versus I'm less likely to want to get a 0.
So you are saying this. So fundamentally, it's like if you really like the other 4 players, you don't want to take the chance on the goalie ruining everything.
That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't say very well. Thank you.
So like 20 minutes ago, you were like, what if you played a guaranteed 0 in order to get 4 players you like?
I'm evolving. I told you I was trying to play devil's advocate on there. I did it for the people.
I know what you're saying. Like you don't want your goalie to mess up the four like great players you have.
Let's be real. Let's get out of cap mode. Let's go to our all-stars and our top lineups. Every last person in this damn chat, you, Sean, anybody out there doing content, we all pick the guy most likely to get a clean sheet, not the guy most likely to get AA. Anybody that says anything else is a freaking liar. Bring them on. Let's just be real. We all look for clean sheet. We're not like, oh, but he doesn't have a chance at many saves. We're all like, no. Give me the guy that's going to get me my 60 and let me move on to the rest, because we don't want to screw up all of our other good plays. So, I think that as we go down here, that conservative side of me comes out when I'm like looking at the team that I really like, and I'm like, oh God, away to Bayern, this could he could kill my lineup.
But if it was a one-time deal, you think you would do
I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in my perspective if that was it, and I think I would be terrified, and I think I would redo it.
What do you think about that strategy for the Premier League competition? Because those are like true 1 week for cash. Is the upside? I don't even know who the highest scoring.
I mean, I'm trying to buy another goalkeeper right now with a low alpha team that I think can get a sheet. So,
where can I find that? Here we go. Do you know who the highest scoring goalie was last week in the Premier League? I don't know. I'm just looking it up here.
I'm trying to think of the results. How sweet would it have been if it was Ramsdale? No, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm trying to.
I know Fodderingham for Sheffield. I played him in DFS. Had a ton of saves, but also got guillotined.
Sheffield United.
Yeah, he had like 8 or 9 saves versus Bournemouth, but he also gave up 3.
Everyone's saying, "Oh, it was
Onana. It was Onana. Guy that sweeps a lot too. Look at that.
92. Emilio Martinez 67,
and he gave up a sheet. And Martinez didn't get a sheet, right? Tottenham scored. Lo Celso scored. So yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. You know what's funny about the top two? Let's see if you can digest it. What do the top 2 scorers have in common? Just to turn a knife into me.
Have you won both and sold both?
No.
Oh.
No. They're both away.
But no. That fits exactly what we were saying.
It fits exactly what we're saying. Yeah. Absolutely does. But it's just always fun because the first thing I sort for in my highest priority lineups is clean sheet probability and if they're home or away.
Is it really that order?
Well, I discard high clean sheet possibilities away from home that the bookies are dumb and that I know better.
So every time?
Yeah. Anytime the bookies think of the guy away has a really high clean sheet probability, I'm like, you're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I know better.
No chance. Yeah. Let's see. We had a few in the Bundesliga.
Bauman was home, conceded 2, but he had the clean sheet. Or he had the PK save.
Yep.
IKB Blue Tomatoes. IKB. Yes, sir. Now that we're getting into France, I do not know if these teams were home or away. I barely know what team they're the goalkeeper for.
I don't think I knew that Bryce Samba even started regularly. I guess he does.
Didn't he just start for France?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably a good indicator that he starts regularly.
It's a good point. Good point. Yeah. I don't know. So we have no one yet this week.
No zeros yet. We'll be watching. We'll be watching for sure. But again, I like the filter of especially like on a Thursday. Just go over to Champ Europe, filter it 43 or 44. Once more predictions come into, see who pops for your swap.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Pinnock's great, man. Just has a high cost.
That is a high cost.
So we have anything more to talk about this topic, or do you think we covered it now that we've gone full circle, proven my little fun theories are terrible?
They weren't terrible. We just had to talk through them. That's all.
Yeah, I'm trying to get different strategies out here that may or may not be horrible advice.
Pascal says Alex Moreno if he starts.
That's I think the left back for Villa, right? Yep. So him starting over Lucas Dean seems not great.
They play Thursday anyway, right? So we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's one of those situations.
Started.
Okay, we have the drawing. Oh, forget.
Man, you are good at that. What was even the question last week?
My powers stop at reminders.
All right, let's see here. So last week we asked, I think it was your favorite Cap 220 strategy.
Okay.
And I want to say that if the answer does not include the name Aaron Ramsdale, I almost don't even want to award this.
They're invalidated.
Right. But we'll see what everybody says.
Let's see it.
All right. So the winner of a 72-hour, which I don't think I reached out to the person who did it last week, so we'll see that. But whoever, we'll get you set up. So to win a 72-hour star membership, Sorare Data, the winner this week is Kai C.
There we go. That works.
My strategy for is common card in the 220. Now I'm going to have to find it here. Anyway, yeah, using a common. Great.
We like that strategy for sure.
Love it. So the question for today, to win a free 72-hour star membership to Sorare Data, just leave a comment below with your favorite player for this weekend. I don't even know what game week this is. 429? Is that what we're coming up to?
So many.
Yeah. Game week 429, your favorite player with an L15 less than 30. 30 is a number. Don't say wrong.
I like it.
But somebody will. And then I'll score 100. So anyway, yeah. Leave a comment in the comments below, not in the live chat. Free 72-hour membership to Sorare Data, so check that out. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Apologies for the early tech issues. You guys missed a banger of a conversation. I'm just saying that. But yeah, thank you to everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with Quinny for the game week preview of 429, where we'll probably talk about 220. And then Sorare Andrews on Thursday. Collection time only. We'll see. Sorry. We'll see. Anyway, I like this.
That's awesome.
R100, no. Anyway, thank you to everybody, and good luck out there.